So one of the things I wanted to talk about was the Wim Hof, right? Wim Hof is known for cold water therapy, cold water immersion. He's also known for a Wim Hof breathing technique, right? Which is 30 breaths in, 30 breaths out, and then we hold, right? And we hold as long as you can.
Right.
Right, but you don't want to do that in the water.
Combining it, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, because if you do that in the water, you could pass out and die. And there's actually, unfortunately, this has happened to a bunch of people out there. And so people don't realize those are two separate things. Wim Hof breathing, 30 breaths with a hold, and water immersion are two completely separate things. So that's the first thing I want to get out there. That's the first thing I want to note. Safety first every time. So the most important thing, and the mistake that I see a lot of people making, is they don't start breathing before they get in, especially when they're brand new, right? They're just freaking out. They're not ready for the cold plunge.
They're tense.
Yeah, they're tense. So you want to start breathing before you get in the cold plunge, right? So we take a breath in through our nose and then out through our mouth, right? And relax your nervous system. So it's a really simple breath. This is a calming, I like to call it the transformer breath. The way I teach it to kids is I tell them to smell the chocolate cake and blow out all the candles. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an easy way to remember. So you want to start doing that before you actually step into the plunge, and do 3, 4, 5 breaths before you get in. And then as you're stepping in, keep doing the breaths. You're going to feel the cold, ignore the cold, and just keep doing the breaths.
Do I breathe out or in when I go?
I like to think about, that's a great question. I like to think about in and then step, exhale, right? And then another breath in through the nose. And then get the other foot in the exhale, right? I do the hard things on the exhales.
Makes sense.
Because it calms you down.
Lifting, right?
Exactly.
Exercise,
yeah, you nailed it. It's great. So you exhale on the push, right? You exhale on the hard part. It's
right.
Genius. So we're going to do that, and we're going to get in. And not everybody does this, but there's a thing called the mammalian reflex. Are you familiar with that? So when your face hits the water, it calms your nervous system. So people, it's hard for them their first time, but it was a game changer for me. Pitch my nose, get my head, dunk my head under, and that actually calmed my nervous system even more.
It calms you, dunking the head.
Yeah, the mammalian reflex.
Counterintuitive.
It is. You think it's going to be 10 times worse, but it actually stimulates that vagus nerve and kicks it in and calms the nervous system. It's an automatic reflex in your body. It's just designed that way. So if you want to dunk your head, it's up to you. Go ahead and do that, but let's have you step in. Okay. Wait, take a breath in, exhale.
5 breaths, right?
No, it doesn't have to be 5. It can be 3. We're going to breathe as we go. One of the most important things that I find is when someone's brand new to cold plunging is to get them breathing before they actually get in the cold plunge, right? Because once you sit down in there, you're not going to start breathing properly.
Freak out, right?
Yeah, you go into a shock, right? You tense up and you go, you hold your breath, right? I'm sure you've seen
forget to breathe.
You've seen a million people do this, right?
Yeah.
So you got to get them breathing before they actually get in. That's the key.
Smart.
So anywhere from 3 to 5 breaths, and then I have them breathe as they're stepping in. So I coach them all the way as they sit down, right? And the breath that I like, which is called the transformer breath, which is smell the chocolate cake and blow out as many candles as you can.
Nice analogy. I like it. Yeah.
Right? So in through the nose, out through the mouth, twice as long. Perfect. And I like to do that as I step in. I inhale, and then I step that first foot in, exhale. Right?
For each leg. Each step you're breathing into the process.
And try to turn off your brain. Because as soon as your foot touches that water, it's going to be like, stop. Don't listen to that. Listen to your breath. Focus on your breath. Don't listen to your head. You have to force yourself to go through. Your brain doesn't want you to do it.
Right.
Your brain doesn't want you to do anything difficult, hard, uncomfortable. And you have to override those mechanisms in your brain to do hard things.
And the breath helps with that.
That's right.
With the grounding and
all of it.
Getting through that fear.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's awesome. So just focus on the breath and exhaling. So let's go ahead. We're going to step in, take a breath in, exhale. Good. Exhale. Yes. Perfect. Good. Inhale, exhale, step in, inhale, and then exhale, sit right down. Beautiful. Another breath in. Exhale, now get all the way down to your neck. Beautiful. That's it. That's perfect. One of the mistakes people make is they get in like, they get their whole chest out of the water. You're not getting the vagus nerve in there. The vagus nerve, the wandering nerve, we want to get that in the water. That's going to stimulate the vagus nerve, and it's going to be amazing for us. Good. And just keep breathing, David. You're doing great. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Exhale. Perfect. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Exhale. Good, you're doing awesome. How's your body feeling? The beginning of
relax.
Good. The beginning of the cold plunge is the hardest part. It gets easier the longer you're in there. Your instinct is to want to just jump out immediately.
Immediately jump out.
That's right. You got to fight that. Just fight that instinct to want to jump out and just stay in there and think about warm places. Think about that sauna. Good. Keep breathing. Exhale. Good.
Adam's apple, like my throat?
Yeah, I think, good. You're doing great. Just keep breathing. Relax the body. Think warm thoughts.
Warm places.
Warm places. Go to the hottest place you've ever been to. It's not that hard. You've done harder things in your life than sit in a cold bath, right? You got this. The breathing is great.
On point. Chocolate cake.
Yep. The other breath technique that I like is the physiological sigh. So you take a breath in through your nose, and then a second quick breath, a snort, and then exhale.
Too quick in the nose?
So no, one in through the nose, a second quick one, and then exhale through the mouth. Beautiful. In through the nose, a snort, and then an exhale. Can you feel your body kind of calming down through this?
Yeah.
So I have like a 3-speed motor, kind of like the BlueCube. When I first get in, I start with the physiological sigh. So I get in and I go, right? I do a couple of those. And then as I calm my body down more, I switch to the next one. So it's just in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And then when I feel like I've calmed myself down enough, I just go in and out through the nose, nice and relaxed. And if I find myself starting to get tense again, I'll switch back over to one in through the nose, out through the mouth. So it just, I listen to my body and see what it needs. You're doing great.
It's very helpful. Three gears.
3 gears, exactly. 3-gear breath work in the cold plunge. We're not doing breath holds. We're never doing breath holds in the cold plunge. We're not doing circular breath work ever, where you do, the technique that I like to teach online, which is 2 breaths in, 1 breath out until you tense up in your hands. We're never doing that in the cold. So always just a relaxing, calming breath work. Some people like box breathing, which is the most common box breathing is 4 breaths in, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4, right? That's box breathing. That doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for me because my box is not 4, 4, 4, 4. My box is 12. Some people have an 8-second box. So everybody has a different size box. Just depends on what you're looking for. So one of the things that I think that sets BlueCube apart from every single other cold plunge out there is the river mode, right? Because if we had 3 people here or we're in a commercial environment, there's so many of these cold plunge places opening up. Everybody kind of wants a different temperature, right? So you said
cold tolerance.
Yeah, different cold tolerance. Exactly, right? So what are you going to do about that? You can't change the temperature for everybody. So the river modes, solves that problem. Because you get in right now, it's at whatever, 46 degrees, right? But then the next guy wants it a little colder. It's just the flick of a switch, boom. River mode 2, that makes it colder, right?
Oh yeah.
And then you got someone else who's
immediately colder.
Immediately colder. You got someone else who's hardcore. Here we go, raging river. Boom. That feels
let up, yeah.
Yeah, that feels like it drops 20 degrees.
It does.
So if you've got multiple people coming to your facility or at your house doing cold plunge, you can sort of satisfy everybody's needs with this simple switch that's on the BlueCube There's no one else out there offering that. But also, if you're in a commercial facility, this is what you need. You need the durability, you need the build. This is a build that's gonna last, that you can have however many people, 100 people a day going through there and doing it.
Right.
With this filtration system, with this steel, with this whole thing. This is, I can't believe anyone would buy anything else but a BlueCube for a commercial facility. And if you're a real cold plunger and you're gonna do this with friends, this is the way to go, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I call it, when friends come over, I'm like, this is the Bentley of cold plunges.
Everybody on the river mode for them.
Yeah, everybody else, they sit in there like, oh, I cold plunge all the time. I'm like, oh, you do? And then I'm like, here we go. And instantly they're like, oh, dude, that's different. That's really different. But even just the steel, right? The stainless steel. I have a buddy down the street who has a Plunge, and we keep it at the same temperature, and this one feels 10
Bites more. This does feel colder.
Yeah, it feels way colder.
I agree.
Yeah, so you can go, I think you can go much further on the cold spectrum. One of the other things I wanted to talk about is that the adaptation phase that people go through, right? Because people have the tendency to go too far, too fast. And what I mean by too far, too fast is they're trying to get it as cold as possible right out of the gate, or within a couple weeks of starting. Right. Or they're trying to stay in as long as possible.
They feel the need to do that.
Yeah, I see them like, oh, I did 10 minutes or I did 20 minutes. It's like, no, there's an adaptation process. This thing exists in working out too, right? If you haven't worked out in years and you go to the gym, if you start 6 days a week for an hour, right, you're gonna get results at first, but then you leave yourself nowhere to go. So you wanna start with 3 days, 30 minutes, and then you start to build up 40 minutes, 45 minutes, then you add another day, right? So that's the adaptation process. So you can get results longer.
Makes sense.
And I think that cold plunging is the same way, but for some reason people, they go too hardcore, too fast. They're immediately trying to get it as cold as possible and stay in as long as possible. And I think you're screwing yourself over by doing that, right? I think you drop it at 1 degree per month or something like that, and then add a little bit of time here and there. And there are diminishing returns at some point, right? I think like with a sauna, for example, anything they're saying, and the research shows that anything past 20 minutes, the returns start to diminish.
Yeah.
So
I'm getting less benefit.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's no benefit.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to stay in there so long that you start to do damage to yourself. We don't know where that is yet, but hypothermia
is a real thing.
Yeah, it can happen. So adaptation process is a thing. So I tell people, start off slow, maybe 50 degrees, 51, right? And then,
like a good place to start.
And then slowly work your way down from there. Time-wise too, right? Like a minute, minute and a half, and you can build up from there. The instinct is to jump right out immediately.
Right.
But I think you force yourself to stay in for at least a minute to get the benefits.
Yeah, especially for beginners.
Yeah.
Then it seems like a good starting point.
It is a good starting point. Then you can work up to 3. I like 3 minutes, and I go back and forth between the sauna and the cold plunge, but that's a whole other topic, right?
A whole other animal.
Yeah.